Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Let's continue with Master YongHua's Chanqi instructions.
法显法师，法界佛教总会创办人宣化上人，开示于1970年美国金山圣寺。
今天给各位介绍这位高僧，他在佛教的地位是实实在在的很高。
Today, I will introduce an eminent monk to you. His position in Buddhism is truly very high.
他的那个地位啊，甚至于比这个唐玄奘法师要高。为什么呢？
His position is even higher than Dharma Master Tang Xuanzang. Why is that?
Okay, so you see what we have right now, just to clue you in. The Chinese introduction says this tape was made in the 1970s in old San Francisco, the gold mountain temple he had there. So at the time of the temple, probably in very poor condition, very unimpressive, and he was conducting chantis already. And then for your reference, Dharma Master Xuanzang is a monk Chinese monk who was responsible for, he was in China, so he went to India, traveled by foot to India, and a very grueling journey. And then he went to India, he stayed there for something like a long time, 10, 15 years, to learn the Indian language, collect the Mahayana Sutras, debated. He also debated the other Indian philosophers, Buddhist monks as well. He beat them all. Okay, which is unusual, considering that Master Xuanzang wasn't known to have very high level of kung fu, but maybe he was. I don't know much about him. But so he debated. He was invited to debate a lot of Indian monks, famous monks, and the Indians' system seems to be geared towards the Buddhist universities. Okay, so they're into these debate types, and so he beat them all. And so he became very famous. And eventually, he came back to China and brought back like hundreds of rolls of Mahayana Sutras. And then he was then put in charge of translating by the emperor, translating the sutras from Sanskrit into Chinese. And he got a lot of help, of course. He had many Chinese monks. He was leading a temple of about 3,000 monks. They all sponsored by the emperor. Back then, the Chinese emperor had wisdom, unlike today's. Okay, their wisdom in what way? The wisdom in that they are considered the Buddhism, the Buddhist philosophies and Buddhist practices are national treasures. Okay, only in China during those times you have that, and then later it's not the case anymore. Okay, but because of that kind of mindset, the emperor sponsored. He let the Xuanzang, great Master Xuanzang, stay at a big temple, and he had 3,000 monks to help him translate. Okay, many of them were from India as well, and so you have a very impressive team of translation, unlike what Master Hsuan has, for example. By comparison, Master Hsuan basically was on his own and had maybe 10, 20 people translating maximum, okay, if at all, and so the difference being that Master Xuanzang, he was translating the sutras from Sanskrit into Chinese. There's a clear hierarchy of decision making, where you have these people who are there because they are qualified to be there. Either one is specialist in Sanskrit, one is specialist in Chinese, one is specialist in the particular Dharma, one is specialist in embellishing the Chinese translation and so forth. So the team is very extensive. So that's why the translation was fantastic, and that's the basis of the great Chinese treasure. To me, that's the biggest Chinese treasure there is. Okay, and the funny thing is that only the Japanese collected them. The Chinese never been collected that Buddhist treasure. And later the Japanese collected it and collected everything. So anyway, so the work of the translation work of Master Xuanzang was very extensive. And later you have Kumarajiva, who is another very famous translator as well. Kumarajiva is a much better translator later in general, by the way. So that's why Master Xuanzang, in the history of Chinese Buddhism, he was one of the icons, the big shots in Chinese Buddhism. And we should be grateful to him for not only the hardship endured in his travels and the being there and learn language at an old age. Learning a new language is not easy. And out-debating people, the Indians, that's pretty impressive. I mean, clearly he had spiritual penetrations, clearly have great wisdom. And so Master Xuanzang is a very famous icon in Chinese Buddhism. There you go.
他这是中国到印度去取经，很早的一个人。他这个中国的僧人去到印度。 是很难的一件事。
He was the one who went to India from China to get sutras early on. It was very difficult for Chinese monks to go to India.
行路非常的困难。 从中国到印度， 走路啊，要走几年的时间。所以是很不容易的一件事。
It was very difficult to travel. From China to India, to travel by foot, it would take years. So, it was a very difficult task.
究竟这位高僧是谁呢？他是近代的时候，又是在近代那个时候的宋，是宋代。
Exactly who was this eminent monk? He was from the Jin dynasty. Also, the Song from Jin dynasty. That was Song dynasty.
他的名字呢，就叫法显大师。这位大师本来他有3个哥哥。
His name was Great Master Fa Xian. This great master originally had 3 elder brothers.
第一个哥哥生出来3岁就死了，他又第2个哥哥又来了，第2个哥哥才2岁就死了。
His eldest brother was born and died at the age of 3. His second brother came. Second brother, he passed away at the age of 2.
第3个哥哥又来，他爸爸妈妈生了第3个儿子，1岁就死了。这回他爸爸
His third brother came. His parents gave birth to the third son, who died at the age of 1.
妈妈就都慌上来，然后等这个法显一生出来，他就把他送到庙上。
This time, both of his parents panicked. Once Fa Xian was born, his parents sent him to the temple.
生出来就怕死，所以叫他到庙上去做沙弥。
Once he was born, his parents were afraid that he would die, so they sent him to the temple to be a novice.
这一生出来这个小孩子就做沙弥，在庙上住了3年，也没有死。
Once this little kid was born, he was a novice in the temple. He lived in the temple for 3 years and didn't die.
他爸爸妈妈一想，这个小孩子回头不会死了，把他拿回来了。
His parents thought, maybe this little kid won't die this time. So they took him back.
That's so Chinese, you know. Thank you. We don't need you anymore. Goodbye.
又从庙上把他拿回来了，很奇怪。 拿回他就有病。
Again, they took him back from the temple. It was very strange. Once they took him back, he became sick.
有病，病的什么都不知道了，这是不省人事，不懂人事。
He became sick. He was sick to the point that he didn't know anything. He lost consciousness. He lost consciousness.
他爸爸妈妈又慌上来了，说这不得了，还得要把他送到庙上。
His parents panicked again. They said, this is out of hand. We need to send him back to the temple.
本来舍不得，这第4个儿子，舍不得也不行啊，病得这个样子，又送回到这个庙上去。
Originally, they couldn't let go this fourth son, but not letting go won't help. He was so sick. So they sent him back to the temple.
送到庙上，过了1宿就好了。这么严重的病，就没有病了。
They sent him to the temple. After a night, he recovered. Such severe illness, but he recovered.
Wouldn't you like to know which temple he went to? I would.
没有病了，于是乎就还在庙上住啊。这小孩子在庙上住，以后他妈妈总想看他这个小孩子，但是
Disease-free, he continued living in the temple. This little kid lived in the temple. Later, his mom always wanted to see her little kid.
又不能到他的门口，不能到他家里来，一到家里就有病。
But he couldn't go to the entrance of her house, can't go into her house. Once he went back home, he would become sick.
于是乎想一个方便的办法，就在门口啊，单单给这个小沙弥儿子，小沙弥，再做一个小小的房间。
Thus, they thought about an expedient. Beside the front entrance, they specifically built a little room for this little novice son, for this little novice.
等他回来啊，住3天2天，到这个地方住，给他妈妈看一看，就这样。
His parents waited for him to come back, to live 2 to 3 days, to live at this place, so his mom can see him, like that.
那么回来1年回来1次，回来2次，最多不超过3次。
He sometimes went back once a year or twice a year, but at most, not more than 3 times.
1年，这个妈妈只可以看3次自己这个儿子，还不能到他自己的那个房门口里边去。
In a year, his mom could only see her son 3 times and couldn't even have him inside her house. He couldn't pass the entrance.
这个门外的那个小房里头建，这就那个小房也就等于一个小庙一样，单给这个小沙弥做这么一个小庙。
They met in the little hut outside of the house. This little hut was like a little temple, specifically built for this little novice.
等到长到10岁了，他爸爸也死了。爸爸死了，他的叔父就多事干。
When he was 10 years old, his father passed away. His father passed away, and his uncle started causing trouble. 你爸爸就你这么一个儿子，你爸爸已经死了，你现在不能出家了，你应该还还俗了。他父 He said, you're the only son your father has. Your father has passed away. Now you can't be a monk.
这个叔父就逼迫着叫他还俗，一定叫他还俗。
You should go back to lay life. His uncle then forced him, told him to go back to lay life, must have him go back to lay life.
说是你妈妈守寡不容易你应该回家里给你妈妈做个伴呢，陪着。
He said that it was difficult for his mom to be a widow, and you should go back home to keep your mom company.
你妈妈你不可以再出家了。你说这个小沙弥说什么话？他说我出
To accompany your mom. You cannot be a left-home person anymore. You know, what did this little novice say? He said,
家不是因为我有父亲出家，那么不是因为我有父亲出家，所以
I left the home life. It was not because I had a father. I didn't leave the home life because I had a father.
因为我父亲死了，我怎么应该不出家呢？
So, now my father passed away. Why shouldn't I be a novice anymore?
这一句话把他叔叔给问住了，没有话讲了。他说是啥？
This one sentence caught his uncle off guard, and he couldn't say anything. He said,
你这个小孩子，我如果和你打官司也打不赢你，你可以自己做一个辩护律师。
Yes, you, little kid, if I am in a lawsuit with you, I can't win. You can be your own defense lawyer.
自己给自己做这个 lawyer。没有法子了，又由他出家了，出家就。
You can be your own lawyer. He had no way of stopping him, so he let him be a left-home person.
在庙上辛苦横人家所 做不到的这种的苦恨，他就做。
As a left-home person, he stayed at the temple, where he practiced asceticism, the ascetic practices others can do, he did.
没有人欢喜做这种的苦恨，他就做，他做了这种苦恨，还不叫人知道。
The type of ascetic practice nobody liked to do, he did. He did such ascetic practices and wouldn't let the others know.
那么其中就有一个欢喜图这个虚名的这么一个这个沙弥。
Among them, there was this one novice who coveted this undeserved reputation.
It's not undeserved, it is a meaningless reputation, a false reputation, not undeserved. Of course, it's deserved, but it's meaningless. Just to be known for your ascetic practices is meaningless. Yes, 3.
Thank you, Master. I think you just clarified his reputation for ascetic practices.
Right. And because when you live in a temple, you can't help but be seen. Other people know what you're doing, and that's why it's very difficult to, for example, for Master Huineng to stay on in the 5th Patriarch's temple, because they would be scrutinizing him, not allowing him to do anything, to meditate, to do anything whatsoever. And that's how people are. That's why I'm a little bit surprised that the uncle sort of gave up so easily. It's weird. It doesn't sound right to me. It must be some sort of peasants or something. Because if you live in the city, we would come back to you with so many ruses, so many tricks to trip you, right? I mean, that's what you do. Adults don't just give up easily, admit defeat to a kid. That's weird. Yeah, it shows the kind of mentality these people have. The family have, which to me is interesting, because when he couldn't enter the house, and they built a hut outside the house for him. Why not go to a hotel or something like that, buy a second house? Gee, there's so many things you could do. These people must be peasants or something. Because they lack imagination. It doesn't work. You keep on trying and trying and trying. Yes? You don't just say, it doesn't work, that's it. I stop here. Yes, 3.
Master, I have a question. This time frame in days of old there in China, did they, in kinship, did they follow a patrilineal form of kinship, or was it matrilineal? Probably patrilineal. In other words, if his uncle wasn't the brother of his mom, well, they probably didn't care. But because the uncle was the brother of his mom, they would listen to him, whatever he was trying to ingratiate himself in with the family.
I doubt it. Because in Asia, once you marry into a family, you really don't keep in touch with your own family anymore. When a woman
Right.
marries into a family,
Yeah,
she
that's-
abandons her family, and therefore the uncle is most likely is a paternal uncle, not the maternal uncle at all.
So that's patrilineal descent, I think.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. And And so he should have wielded a lot more power. That's why it's surprising he gave up so easily, so quickly. It doesn't happen like that. But anyway, that's the nature of his blessings, I guess. Okay, but when this young man here, he got into the temple, he was doing well, and the temple, of course, was not lacking in resources. They would take in an infant, so they had resources to take care of infants, to feed them, to clothe them, and to watch over them. Okay, so that's fairly big temple. Okay, very quite well off, if you will. Okay, because basically, you have to change diapers, and it's not a lot of fun. Okay, for monks to do, so they must have a lot of support. Yes, 9.
Was Buddhism entrenched in the culture and society the way the Catholic Church was in the Roman Empire?
Yes, absolutely, because it's similarly to the Roman Empire. Good question. What happened is that if you know historically, and please correct me if I'm wrong, historically, Catholicism, actually Christianity, they used to be called Christians, not Catholics. Okay, Christianity was persecuted. Christians were persecuted in Rome because they advocated that there's another external being called Jesus and God who are above the emperor. Okay, and to the Romans, that's not acceptable. So the Roman emperors personally persecuted all these Christians, fed them to the lions and so forth. So famously, the Christians, what happened is that, I don't know, should I tell you the history? I'm not a history buff, but for reference, you might want to know. It's kind of interesting to me how Christianity took hold. Because back then, here's what's funny, the circumstances. Back then, the Roman emperor felt threatened, so he persecuted the Christians. Okay? And yet, the Christians still were devoted to the faith, and so they practiced in secret, in hiding. They went to caves and gathered together, and what happened is that the reason it's the case because Rome. This happened in Rome not because of the apostle Peter who was there. When Christ died, Jesus died, he had 12 apostles, and they sent them out. And Peter is the only one who stayed in Rome. I mean, the major one stayed in Rome. They were all in hiding. And Peter was forbidden from preaching. But he never stopped him. So eventually, the Roman emperor couldn't ignore it. At first, the Roman emperor laughed at him and said, "Oh, you idiot, you slave." Yeah. But eventually, he couldn't ignore it anymore, so he hunted Peter, and he grabbed him. Okay? And what did they do? They crucified him. Okay? To serve as an example. And so when Peter was crucified, hey, Catholic, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Because this is your province, not mine. Okay? So when Peter was crucified, what did he do? He says, I have one request before you kill me. Crucify me upside down, because I don't deserve to be, crucified the same way as my Lord, Jesus. Okay, so they crucified him upside down. So they built this cross here, and then they built another, horizontal bar, and they crucified him. They hit the nail into the legs, the two legs, to anchor him, and then 2 hands and so forth. Okay, that's how he died. Okay, so it didn't really stop the Christians at all. Okay, actually, the Christians were emboldened. Why? Because Because that's the origin of the teaching. It says, Jesus died for you. And that's what they really believe, okay? That Jesus died on your behalf. He suffered for you. So that's why the Christian, the believers, the followers are very, very touched by that. And it turns out 80%, 75% of the residents of Rome, I think I know more about this than that Catholic, okay, were slaves. So Rome was predominantly inhabited by slaves. And the Catholic teaching, the Christian teaching, was that we're all equal under God. Only God is higher than us, but all of us are equal, okay, including the emperor. And the slaves bought into it, and they liked it, okay? And that's the only solace they got from life. That's the only thing they can look forward to, is that this firm belief that they're all equal and that God died for them. I mean, the God's Son died for them. So therefore, they don't have to suffer anymore. It's a beautiful, beautiful belief, okay? And so it went on like that for a long time. And the more persecution, the more the Christians, the more they were persecuted, the more the Christians figured out ways to hide away from the authorities. They still practice in secret, okay? Because they find solace, they find comfort in getting together with these people who are just as desperate as they are, just as resentful as they are, okay, as they were. And it went on like that until what's the name? I forgot. Augustine? Look up Augustine. He's a Roman emperor, okay? At the time, the political scene changed. There were Rome who had two factions. One's Augustine is a general, another general as well, okay? And because the emperor was deposed or died or something. So now you have two major factions who are vying for power, okay? So Augustine, being a general, okay, he's also a politician. So that combination is what helped him. So he says, I need the support. I have an army, but I need the support from the population. Why are we talking about the Christians? Would you like me to continue, or this is kind of not even doesn't even concern us? You still want me to continue? Traitors. And so Augustine did something extremely, extremely smart, judicious. He says, so he was preparing his army to go attack the other general, okay, destroy the other army. And before in that process, before they engaged with the other general, who eventually he defeated because he's a better general, okay? But Augustine did something very smart. He says, he looked at he surveyed the situation and realized there's lots of Christians. In spite of persecution, there are lots of Christians because they were slaves, remember? Okay? So he says, I want to become Christian. And I want to make Christianity the religion for Rome, because that's the only thing will unify Rome. That's what politicians do, okay? They really don't believe at all, but they seize opportunities to make a name for themselves and get power. Sounds familiar? So he did that. So he's a very skilled general, so he defeated the other general, and therefore he's the only general left, the only major force left. However, that force needed support from the population. So he declared himself to be Christian. And he says, Christianity will be the religion for the Roman Empire. So after he proclaimed himself emperor, baptized himself, and so forth, and all those things, he started building churches, magnificent churches. And that's the beginning of magnificent churches. It's from the Roman Empire. He spent so much money building churches after churches everywhere in the Roman Empire. Gorgeous. Yes, 9.
From Diego. That is why Constantino embraced Catholicism and convert the whole empire. Whole empire into Catholicism.
Thank you. Constantine, not Augustine. It's a teen thing. Okay. Okay. So Constantine, thank you, Diego. That's very helpful. So Constantine built the Roman Empire, installed himself as the powerful emperor, and he has the support of the Christians. And that's how the Roman Christians, that's how the Christianity evolved and spread so quickly with his support. Yes, Kat, you have to jump into my game.
Just don't forget about Thomas. Peter started the Roman Catholic Church, or well, that's where he stayed in Rome. But Thomas went to spread it in East. So that's why we had the Eastern Catholic Church and the Roman Catholic Church.
I'm coming to that. If you just hang on a second. Catholics, always so jealous and so fearful of, missing out on the limelight. I have to calm myself down. Okay, so we owe Constantine these gorgeous churches throughout the Western world. Okay, and what he did, and then the Christians did is they organized themselves. So they organized because it's getting bigger and bigger. So how did they organize it? By bishops. So you have one area, of the empire would be governed by bishop. So Rome was governed by the Roman bishop, who was Peter. Because they wanted to recognize Peter as the first pope of Christianity. Okay? Which later they call themselves Catholics. Okay? Yes, sir.
I thought Peter was dead.
Yeah, but later they recognized him as the first pope. Okay? And the Roman bishop was the one who promoted that. Yes, sir.
Little correction. Technically, Jesus is the first pope.
You don't know what you're talking about. Shame on you. Shame on you.
We think
there's no pope under Jesus' system.
No, but we consider him as the high priest, the high pope.
No. You're wrong, my friend. I'm sorry. I have to disagree with you. You're so wrong. I know more about that than you. Because I have historians on my side. You only have you on your side. Okay. So anyway, they organized by regions into bishops, and that's a system they still have today. Okay, and that's so the genius there in organization. Okay, so that's a lesson we Buddhists have to learn as well. Master Shuang brought it here, but we need to organize it in order for it to grow. Okay, so anyway, that's our Buddhist side. We're not there yet. So they organized these bishops, and then what happened is that they elected this pope here, in Rome, and the pope is becoming powerful. So Constantine was getting nervous. So he says, I can't have that. I can't have another person who's too powerful in the same city as I. So he designated another pope, okay, in a city, okay, that is named after himself, Constantinople's. Okay, so he erected a second pope over there. Okay, but they don't call themselves pope; they call themselves patriarch. So the patriarch of the Orthodox Church. You see, even the Catholics, have to see how knowledgeable I am about. Okay, so the patriarch over there, pope in Rome. That's how the system evolved. So now they have, see, Constantine is a very brilliant tactician. He says, let these two people butt heads, and then weaken them, and then I come in and be the conciliatory or whatever. Okay, so anyway, so that's how it happened, and it goes on. Of course, I find it fascinating because the growth could have not been without the proper organization. Okay, which Master Shehua failed to do, by the way. Okay. The Westerners are much better at that. They organize themselves. That's why the Buddhism, the Catholicism, Christianity grew so fast. Okay, because great organization. Okay. How do we get there again? Oh, okay. So they, and that's a story about behind it, and then later we have a pope and so forth. That's a different story. Okay, but we don't do popes because it's not how we choose our leaders. Okay, our leaders are chosen by people of wisdom, not by votes. That's the difference. Our side is wisdom. Theirs is pope. So what happened? Votes. So that's what happened is that when you have votes, you have corruption. So the pope system was very corrupt for centuries. Okay, they're basically politicians and businessmen. Yes, 3.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the system, the beginning of it seems like it was built on the foundation of like self-benefit, to benefit the king. So I'm just kind of confused how it could have cultured good roots and got as popular as it did today.
Well, a couple of reasons. Number one reason is that the popes are very astute politicians. So very astute popes in their history made alliances with great monarchs, the French king, and so forth, Charlemagne, okay, and so forth, and Charlemagne's of France, and that's how, because back then Rome was very weak, it has no army, so they needed to depend on a monarch to support them. So they made alliances, and that's the story of the popes. Popes make alliances with the people in power. So, for example, the Catholic Church later had to make negotiation with Hitler in order to survive, because they're very good at that. That's why the church thrives, regardless. They get bigger and richer regardless of the upheaval or the hard times. They just get bigger and bigger because they deal with the right people. Okay? And that's not our interest. Our interest is not growth. Our interest is quality and wisdom. Develop people with wisdom and let them do their things. Okay, So how do we develop wisdoms? And this is one thing here, and this is you should pay attention to this, because this boy here, Fa Xian, he came to the temple early, but what he did, okay, is not clear, because it's not clear what kind of training he had. But so the only thing that's recorded in his early days was that he practiced asceticism. Okay, meaning depriving yourself a lot of the comfort, a lot of nice things at the temple. If the temple is that well provided for, and they're very comfortable. And yet the boy, at the early age, he preferred to do ascetic practices. And I heard once, Master YongHua said, recounted on how the Buddha commented on Mahakashyapa, who was number one ascetic practices among the Buddha's disciples. And the Buddha commented that because as long as you have ascetic practices, Buddhism will thrive. I couldn't understand it. Okay? No one could explain. No one asked Master YongHua why. Well, does anyone want to ask me why? No? Okay, then we move on. I mean, when I listened to his tapes and read the translation of his teachings, I said, why? I mean, I have all these why, and amazingly, no one ever asked. So it tells you the kind of sheeps he had for disciples. Too afraid. Okay? We Americans are much more vocal, much more belligerent and disrespectful than that. Yes, 3.
Master, I believe in today's age, it's much, much harder to practice asceticism. You may not think that it is, but back of the time area that Master YongHua is talking about, you were one of many, many thousands that were living on the street, poor, hungry, unclothed. But today, we actually do take care of people. Mm-hmm. And it would be very difficult for somebody to go on a hunger strike in the middle of the city without at least a stack of dollar bills in front of you and people offering you food.
Hey, idea. Yes, absolutely. Yes, people are very kind. People in this, I see it everywhere I go. Yeah, people are very kind. People are kind-hearted in this country, meaning that primarily when I talk people, primarily are Catholics or Christians. They're very kind-hearted. It's a big plus. Okay, they're very decent. I really like that. Okay. Yes, Catholic.
I may disagree a little bit with I don't know his name, with the gentleman.
White hair?
Yes.
Silver hair. Yeah, silver hair.
Because where I work
it's colored, by the way.
Where I work at, there is a lot of help that needs to be accomplished.
It cannot be that perfect. The color is just too perfect.
So where I work at, there's a lot of help that we need to help these people, especially in Skid Row area. There's a lot of homelessness. There's a lot of people going hungry right now. So even at this point in time, I think we're not doing enough as a country to help these people, especially with mental illnesses that is going up really, really bad right now, especially because of COVID-19. Just my opinion.
It's true. It's also the fact that we could do a lot more. Okay, but I'm talking in general though that I see driving by, see how people help homeless people and give them money and so forth. It's everywhere I go. That's why you see them everywhere. If they start working, you wouldn't see them at all. Let's face it. Okay. Whether it's in Pico Rivera, which is not very rich, or you go into San Gabriel or San Marino, there are people like that who give them money and help and support. Okay? But yes, of course, there are people who are not seen who are suffering because they can't even get up from the bed, because they're depressed, because they're hungry, because they have no energy. Okay? Can't even get up. Can't even walk up the stairs. Okay? So yes, there's always that. Okay? And we could do more. But it's a nature of a human condition. Some of us are destined to suffer like that. Okay? You can't, I don't care how well-meaning you are, will always be people like that somewhere in the world, in the country. Yes, number one.
Master, what is the ascetic practice in Buddhism?
Oh, there are many ascetic practices. There are like 12 ascetic practices. Okay? The Hinayana have 13. Basically, some ascetic practices, like famous one is like eating one meal. Okay, that's ascetic practice. Or staying under a tree. Okay, that's another ascetic practice. It's very tough. Eating one meal is tough. Staying under a tree is pretty tough. It rains, there's wind, there's the temperature changes, and people walking by, there's dust, and all kinds of things. Okay, so it's very, very tough. What else? What are other sacred practices? Old monk, it's time to help me. What else? They only have 3 ropes, no more. Okay, we now have plenty of clothing, but they only keep 3 ropes. That's it. Whether it's hot or cold, 3 ropes. That's incredible kung fu, let me tell you. And then you're outside under a tree. If you do that together, it's very, very tough. What if it rains? What are you gonna do? Okay, and so you sit sleep. That's another form of ascetic practice. Okay, you do sequential begging. You beg 7 houses in a row, and then you eat whatever you offered. If there's nothing, you don't eat that day. Okay, that's another form of ascetic practice. So there are 12 of them all together. Okay, and Mahakashyapa was well known for that. Okay, this is when you're supposed to look up the Buddhist dictionary and add to whatever I'm leaving out. Okay, because this is when we can all learn together. Remind me if those are. If you ask me on a better day, I probably can remember. But now my energy is lower, so my memory retrieval is not very good right now. I only scream and yell. My that memory part is a little bit sluggish. Okay. Yes. 3.
Thank you, Master. So the boy who became sick but was only cured by staying at this unnamed temple was gaining a reputation for ascetic practices, one of the 12.
Or maybe all 12, we don't know.
Sure.
Yes. Meaning you can practice from 1 to 12 or more. It's up to you.
Which was not the typical practice of his fellow Sangha at the temple?
Yes, it's more austere. You don't need to. You can, these are specialized practices that are sort of unpopular because it's very tough to keep. Okay? Very tough to practice. That's why they don't have a lot of people who practice it. And that's why it is said that as long you have ascetic practices, Buddhism will thrive. And I heard that. I couldn't understand why. I would have asked if I were there. I said, why? Yes, 3.
Do you want me to read the 13?
Sure, and that's Hinayana.
Yeah, when I looked it up, I found the 13. Should I?
Sure.
Okay.
Share with us.
The first one is refuse rag wearers practice.
Yeah, you only wear rags.
Yeah. The second one, triple robe wearers practice.
3 robes only, yes.
3 is alms food eaters practice.
Okay, alms begging, yes.
4 is house to house seekers practice, not omitting any house.
Okay, sequential begging, okay, that's fine.
Number 5 is one sessioners practice, eating 1 meal a day.
Number 6, yes.
Eating bowl food eaters practice, eating food from his bowl in which it is mixed together rather than from plates and dishes.
Yeah, so you have a bowl that is measured. You don't simply, because you eat 1 meal, you can get a big bowl. Okay, huge bowl like the Thai people. Okay, that's a humongous bowl. I don't see how they could even finish it. But their excuse is that they can bring it back and share with the people who can't go begging. But actually the Buddha he specified the size of those bowls so that you can eat so much only. You cannot eat more. So that's part of ascetic practice. Yes.
Number 7 is later food refusers practice, not taking any food after one has shown that one is satisfied, even though lay people wish to offer more.
Right. You eat once and that's it. You don't eat more. Okay. Meaning like you give a bowl of food, and then later Xian Shun comes around and say, I just cooked this new dish. Would you like some more? And you say, no. I'm doing ascetic practice. Yes.
Number 8 is forest dwellers practice.
Forest, yes, under trees. Mm-hmm.
Number 9 is tree root dwellers practice.
Okay, live in forest. Okay, fine.
Number 10 is open air dwellers practice.
Live in the open, yes. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing, isn't it? We summarize 2 or 3 under the same heading. Yes.
Number 11 is charnel ground dwellers practice.
Oh, yeah. That's the one. That's the one I like. You know what that means? Oh, it's a cool practice. I don't recommend it, but I like it. And that's a lot the Taiwanese do. I went to Taiwan to learn Chinese and learn precepts, and I ran into a few monks and nuns who did this practice, and this is part of the ascetic practice. And the reason they did it is because they couldn't find any temple who would take them. No one would accept them. They kicked them out. They went from temple to temple after all that time, and then all the temple, no one wanted them. So they ended up doing that thing. What does it mean? It's a training in Hinayana where they send their monks and monks to the cemetery at night. I don't recommend, okay? And I met a few, like 2 or 3, and these Taiwanese monks who stayed in the cemeteries, they're all crazy. They're all possessed. They're possessed. They are weird. They are not themselves. And these ghosts are so strong that they amazingly they took over. They don't behave like monks anymore. They're so weird, At night I was meditating, doing things, and then all of a sudden I was too sleepy and I would go like this, and that crazy guy walked in there and, would you like some trầu cáo? The metal thing, the Taiwanese Jew with the dates and the leaf, the green thing with betel nut. Yeah, betel nut. Okay, and they chew it, and chew it. Okay, so again, would you like some betel nut? And they start sniffing. I said, anyway, they're weird. And so these ascetic practice of staying, of meditating at night at the cemeteries, don't you dare. It's like committing suicide because they take over. Okay? Don't be stupid. Continue.
Number 12 is any bed user's practice being satisfied with any dwelling allotted as a sleeping place.
Okay.
Number 13 is sitter's practice, living in the three postures as walking, standing, sitting, and never lying down.
Oh, never lying down. Never lying down. Okay, very good. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So you see, those are ascetic practices because they're very hard to do. If you do one that's impressive, like Master YongHua, he taught people in this country to do 1 meal a day and sit sleep. It's basically to control sexual urges for the people here. Okay? For example, the Hinayana teachers, they wouldn't dare send the people to the West because they have a problem with the sexual desires too high. Okay, and for the Hinayana, it's very, very challenging for them. Okay, so but Master YongHua came here and he started these ascetic practices: 1 meal a day, not sit sleeping, and so forth. They're designed to counter the sexual urges. Okay, so for example, if you have a lot of sexual desire, this guy, the Chinese guy here. Rich guy, rich family. He came to me and he confided his story. He says, I really appreciate my YongHua. I said, why? He said, see, I why everything. And he said, I have very high sexual desire. I said, okay. And then, and so my YongHua helped me control it. Okay? He's like in his 50s already. He still have very high sexual desires. I said, how? He says, sit sleeping. I said, how? He says, ding, ding. Chinese people, ding. Chinese character, ding. So he's Chinese, he's Taiwanese. So he says, at night, to sit sleep, I lean against the wall, stretch my legs. That's a ding character right there. Ding. Yeah. You see that? So you don't need to cross your legs. He can't sit in full lotus anyway. I mean, not for very long. His disciples don't sit in full lotus the way we do. We are extremes. We should call it ascetic practice, I would say. Okay, but unfortunately, it's not considered ascetic practice. Yeah. Okay, so that's how he slept. He would sleep at night. He would not use a bed. So he would lean against the wall, stretch his legs out, and would sleep like that. And it reduced his sexual desire so much, it became under control. Master YongHua is he knows so much. It's just incredible. Only he lacks organizational skills. Otherwise, he has such vast knowledge about everything, except organization, except management. Yes, 9.
Jose Daniel, is refraining from talking much an ascetic practice?
No, not at all. Okay, the Asians like to do that. I don't like to do that. Okay. The Asian temple, you go to a chi, they have a sign that says, I'm Jingkou, okay? I'm purifying my mouth, so they don't speak, so don't talk to them, okay? I just don't like that method at all. It's nonsense. Okay? Yeah, because it's not that effective. Baloney. Okay? Yeah. And there's so much more effective things. I would rather open your mouth and bitch and moan, complain. Okay? While you don't eat. You know what I mean? It's so much more effective. These people, they 进口, they stop talking for every single qi and stuff like that. Very cool. They walk around the side. 进口. Okay. I saw it everywhere. I was like, oh, I don't like this attitude. That's why it turned me off. It's conducive to people having a big head. I'm special, practicing something special. And when you see someone who's fasting like this, look how miserable they are. Look at, she's dying. Okay? Where's your ego now? She used to be alive and look at her. A misery of a human being. That is so much more effective than the jinko crap the Chinese, the Asians like to do. Baloney. Okay? Yeah. So ours is a little bit more drastic than theirs. Okay? Yeah. Works so much better. Okay? So that's why you can gap, you can talk, you can smile, you can eat, whatever. But then there are times where these are like extreme practices. Okay? And again, I remind you, you have to do it under supervision. Okay? You cannot do it on your own. It's a big no-no. Someone needs to check on her. Okay? Who's doing it now? Who's doing it? Okay. So take advantage of why I'm still here. When I'm not here, this is not going to happen. You hear? If I'm not here, you do 9 days, period. That's it. No more. Not worth it. All right. So the question is, why would people, monks and nuns who practice ascetic practices, would help Buddhism prosper? Why is that? It's a very important point that the Hinayana don't understand, or the non-Buddhists would not understand, because this is our specialty. Why? Because that's how you improve quicker. The Chinese would never tell you that. This is what's annoying to me. They know all the Dharma doors, but the way they train the people, unlike us, they have there are tons of Dharma doors the Chinese have. Like look at Master Hsien, he knows so much, and before him, all the great Chinese teachers, Ma Zu and Chu Tou and so forth, Ling You and Yang Shan and so forth. They are incredibly wise. They know so much how to train people, but they never explain it to them why. Because the Asian system, you're not supposed to ask insolent questions. It's not polite. It's not respectful. Okay, and because of that knowledge is lost. We're not going to tell you everything, but at least you should know that why would ascetic practices so instrumental to the prosperity and the proliferation of Mahayana, of Buddhism. Okay? Not Unlike them, they went and built churches and they give money and they do charity work. That's how they proliferate themselves. For us, it's training our people. And how we train our people, what I've been telling you, improve. And ascetic practices will help you improve a lot quicker than otherwise. Yes, Daniel?
There's actually monasteries that may do what I call extreme practices, such as fasting, chanting all day. It depends, like they specialize in certain sections.
Fasting one day?
No, they fast for actually their entire lives. Some of them, they don't talk for the entire lives.
You cannot fast your entire life. What kind of nonsense is that?
Fasting, but I mean, like
seriously? I mean, this guy is talking
once a day. That we call that fasting.
What? That's not fasting, man.
We call that fasting.
That's the problem with these people. They use the same words, but with different interpretations. Okay. It's about accuracy. You cannot say it's the same thing. Shame on you. It's misleading people. This is why people stop believing in your faith, because you keep on misleading them. Can't do that. It's just the exact opposite of the Asian. The Asian don't tell the people. You mislead your people. The Asian don't tell the people. We need to have a middle way. Well, we definitely don't mislead you, but we need to tell you. We need to explain to you. Okay? And because why do I say that? Because when you come to this temple here and you do these things, I see how people change, how people evolve, how people get better. And I told you the other night, and the secret, the shortcut to that I'm giving you is suffering. The Master Shih gave us is suffering. You want to improve quickly, you have to suffer. The more you suffer, under supervision, don't be stupid now. Don't just say, I'm fasting, and you're going to kill yourself. Or I'm going to sit there for 2 days or 90 days or something. You're going to lose your legs. That woman, that scary woman who sat for 90 days, there's no way she could have done it without Master Hsuan helping her. Let me put it that way for you. Okay? No way. A lot of things are going on that you don't know about. He helped them a lot of them, okay, to set the standards, okay. But this is under supervision. I hope you people online listen to this and think that you can go and do it on your own. Careful, you're going to hurt yourself. Yes, 3.
The other day on a news feed, I saw a picture of an Indian ascetic that claims he has presented himself with his right arm up like this for 40 years, and it's all atrophied, and the joint looks really weird, and it could be, I don't know, it looks pretty awful.
Yeah, maybe it works for him, but for us, we have different methods because we have different goals. The goals is that to open the wisdom. And there's a way to do it. There's a reason why we do these things. Like the Buddha taught only 12 ascetic practices. Devadatta, his chief rival, practiced something like 50 ascetic practices. For example, they would not eat salt. Absolutely not. So they said, Buddha's disciples, the Buddha's disciples, they eat salt. We don't eat salt. We're not greedy for flavors at all. Okay? It's all for show. It's all nonsense because ultimately, all these things are secret practices, secret things. There's a lot more going on than you guys realize, okay? And I was joking in San Jose. We were talking at lunch. Give you a funny anecdote. And the people were so impressed with the old monk, the fact he took medication, anti-blood clotting, anti-clotting medication, and cholesterol and all the thing. He used to take a lot of pills every day. And so when he did the Chanqi, he was able to fast, and he would not take any medication. Okay, and he had no problems whatsoever. And there's a doctor in there, and he said, this is strange, because once you take these types of medication, I heard it before, you cannot stop, because it's very bad. Once you stop, you cannot start again. Okay, it's very tough on your heart. And another Christian lady told me the same thing. She's on drugs, and this medication is for life. But anyway, she was able to stop. This Linda, I don't know, you guys remember her. Anyway, she's a devout Catholic. Anyway, see. So they were so impressed. I like to take measurements. They would like say we like to volunteer and fast and so forth, and take measurements, see what happens. Okay, and then they also recounted that Master, the old monk, one time recently he fasted for 3 days. He stopped taking medication in 3 days, and the third day the heart hurt so much. He was in great pain. He had to stop and resume eating and taking medication again. Yeah, and so they said, why is that? And I was joking, so I blurted, "Oh, I was busy at that time," and they all laughed. It's a lot more going on. You think? You think is that simple? Hell no. And that's why these Chinese secret training techniques are lost, because the Chinese don't get it. They don't explain to their followers. Anyway, we can't explain to you everything, but we should tell you enough so that you, as an encouragement for you to do these things. Okay? So anyways, the kid here, back to slide 126, the kid was famous, well-known in the temple for being young and yet undertaking ascetic practices. Yes, Conk?
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
고통을 참음으로 해서 참매력이 증장이 되는 겁니까? 참매력이 증장이 되면 고통을 잘 참을 수 있는 것입니까? 예를 들어서 결과부자 할 때 다리가 아프다든지, 혹은 잠을 좀 덜 자기 위해서 그 잠을 참는 그런 걸 한다든지, 단식을 할 때 배고픔을 견딘다든지 하는 그런 고통 말씀입니다.
Master, I have a question about pain. So the pain that I'm referring to is about maybe enduring leg pain, or could be enduring shortening sleeping time, or enduring hunger during fasting. So question is, the enduring this type of pain, does it increase the samadhi? Or vice versa, when the samadhi goes up, it's easier to endure this type of pain?
Good question. It's both. For example, somebody here at Wei Mountain Temple just finished her fast, and she improved. Okay, so it happens. It happens, and because of the improvement, and then it's easier to endure next time. Does it help? Okay, very good. But I can't stress enough for all of you that we have to know your limitations, and it's done under supervision. For example, I send my monk over there to Korea because he's can oversee all these things. Okay, it's not as simple as you think. Okay, so it's under supervision. You practice under guidance because you cannot handle it. Okay, it's not something you can handle on your own. Especially when you're at home, it's very difficult for you, and actually rather dangerous for you to do it at home. Okay, so I need to stress that on the video. Don't think you can simply do it yourself. Okay, this is why we're here. We're here is to protect you and to aid you. Okay, all right. Continue, please.
他做这个苦行啊，没有人知道啊。有人问说是谁做的？这个图虚名，这个我做的。
He did these ascetic practices, but nobody knew about them. So, when somebody asked, "Who did this?" the one who converted the meaningless reputation said, "I did."
就把他这个功劳就给领去了。比如庙上有这个当家师，有这个方丈和尚，说这个。
He would take credit for it. The head monk and abbot asked,
谁做的？做的不错啊。那个知道没有人承认的，他就我做的。
Who did this work? Well done. This one knows nobody would admit, so he would say, "I did."
大家都以为这个人是真做苦行这个沙弥是真的，想不到他是假的。
Everybody thought this person really did ascetic practices, that the novice was for real, and didn't expect him to be fake.
这样子，有一次大家很多沙弥到这个稻田里去割稻，割这个谷rice。
Like that, one time, many novices went to the rice field to harvest rice. To harvest rice.
收割稻，但是割稻呢，这个年成它也不好，或者就和现在这个高明和越南差不多这种性质啊。
To harvest rice. Maybe it wasn't a good year. Maybe it was similar to Khmer and Vietnam nowadays.
年年一到收谷的时候，就有很多人去抢去。
Once a year, every year. Once it is harvest time, lots of people would be there to rob.
当时就有一些这个恶的贼，这些恶的贼呀，他要 饿的和恶鬼差不多。
At that time, there were some hungry thieves. These hungry thieves, they were probably as hungry ghosts.
No way. Hungry ghosts are much more hungry than hungry thieves. There's no comparison. The suffering is a lot worse. You ask these people who fast, it's a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. You don't realize how much they undergo. These people are so brave. It's not an easy thing to do at all. Let me assure you. It's so difficult. It's very scary too. There's a lot of pain and suffering. Okay? But that is nothing compared to the hungry ghosts. Yet. Okay? Go on.
看见这个庙上是割岛他就去抢去。到这一抢。
They saw the temple was harvesting grain. So they went to rob the temple. They went to rob the grain.
这些个沙弥一看见土匪来了，这些个强盗来了，喝的都跑。
Once those novices saw the bandits came, the robbers came, they were scared, and they all ran away. All ran away.
都跑，就是这个发现，他们要跑，没跑，他干什么呢？这是给这个土匪来说法。
Only Faxian didn't run away. What did he do then? He stayed there to speak Dharma for the bandits.
他说：“你们各位兄弟们现在因为饿，所以要来拿这个鼓来，这是很好，你随便。”
He said, "Brothers, now, because you're hungry, that's why you came to take the rice.
你欢喜拿多少拿多少，咱们的鼓你都拿去没有关系。
This is very good. Help yourself. Take as much as you would like. Even if you take all of our rice, it's fine as well."
可是这土匪一听他说愿意把鼓都送给他们，也不管他们，也不和他们抵抗。
But once these bandits heard that he is willing to give away all the rice to them, he let them be, also won't fight them.
于是乎就都很高兴，这个小沙弥说：“你说了，有什么话你讲了，俺们欢喜听的。”
They were very happy with this little novice. Say it. Whatever you would like to say, say it. We would like to hear it.
你们自己知道不知道？为什么你们没有饭吃呢？为什么你们饿得这样子呢？
Do you know why you have no food to eat? Why you are so starved like this?
这个土匪，你看看他，他看看你，互相这么一看，也没有什么话讲。大家说俺们不知道，是你。
The bandits looked at each other and didn't know what to say, so they said, "We don't know."
你要不知道，我就告诉你；你要知道嘛，我就不必我讲。
Fa Xian said, "If you don't know, I will tell you. If you already knew, then I don't need to say anything."
土匪说：“因为什么？”这法显法师说：“要知前世因，今生受者是。”
The bandits asked, "Why?" Dharma Master Fa Xian said, "To know the causes of the past life, the recipient of this life is."
你们今生没有饭吃，做土匪各处去抢。
You don't have food to eat this life. You become bandits and rob everywhere.
因为你们前生没有布施人，所以今生就穷的连饭都没有的吃。
That was because in your previous life you didn't give to others. Thus, this life you're so poor that you don't have anything to eat.
可是你们今生还不做布施想，还是到处去抢。
But this life, you're still not giving. Moreover, you're robbing everywhere.
恐怕你们来生更不如今生喽。今生你们还会抢。
I'm afraid that your future life will be worse than this life. This life you can still rob.
恐怕来生你连腿都不会走路了活活的会饿死。你看，那是很可怜。
But I'm afraid that in your future life, you won't be able to walk with your feet and would starve to death. That would be a pity.
土匪一想，他讲的是有点道理。
The bandits thought what he said has some truth in it.
讲完了，发现这个沙弥头也不回就走了也不忘这个土匪怎么样。
The novice Fa Xian finished speaking and walked away without turning back. He didn't even look back to check on these bandits.
土匪自己一想，就生大忏悔心一粒谷也没有抢，就走了。
The bandits thought about it themselves and brought forth the great repentant mind. They didn't rob a single rice and left.
跑了，他庙上有几百个和尚。这个沙弥真是，他胆量这么大，他也不怕土匪。
Several hundred monks in this temple ran away. This novice was so brave. He was not afraid of the bandits.
Stop. Quickly. Comments. We only have a few minutes. Speak quickly. Yes, 3.
Thank you, Master. My unfiltered comment is that is some of the most gangster behavior I've ever heard of a monk being able to do.
So Chinese, right? Only Chinese can pull it off. Can you see us nowadays do that? They say, "Oh, you want these rices? Oh, take all you want. You want all my money? Take all you want, okay?"
You can't just walk up to people and say, "You're some robbing criminal degenerates."
Yeah.
and then change their mind,
Yeah, especially when they're hungry.
walking away with no fear.
Yeah. and these people, somehow these hungry, very extremely hungry bandits who had rice in their own hands right there and would put it down and say, okay, I'm going to go hungry some more. I'm going to, go rob someone else or or go hungry today again. It's incredible. I mean, it's just something else. It's so impressive. Yes, 9.
From Chun, was the 90 days sit straight without unbuckling?
I have no clues. I don't care. I look at the results. I don't care how it's done. You understand? Yeah. For me, I'm very Americanized. You can talk all you want. Well, what have you achieved? You can stay 90 days, you can stay 100 days, you can stay 1,000 days. Look at you. Only? You learn nothing yet? Okay? So that's why I never cared whether, all day or whatever. Most likely it's like the regular schedule. Okay? At the time, I don't think the woman is able to do it long term at all. It takes a certain skill set. And I doubt she would be able to develop it that quickly because of her makeup. It's not possible. You could ask her, hey, what happened to spy number 2? She talks to that woman. Yes, quickly, Daniel. 2.
So did the robbers became Buddhists? They're not Buddhists. What's it called? They became.
No, they went to the church and robbed the church and became Christians because the church had more. They said, we better off being Catholic and Christians. These Buddhist temples are too poor compared to you. Anyone else? Okay, it's pretty impressive, and he could convince these people. And to me, it's fascinating because if nowadays when you stick around, they probably come and rob you and get your wristwatch or something, and check your wallet or something. Give me your wallet, give me your iPhone or whatever. That's fine. And in particular, why would they talk to them nowadays? And they want to go in, they go out very quickly before the police comes. So times are different. But back then, people were a lot more relaxed. They get, hey, I'm robbing your rice. What would you like to tell me before I leave? It's so interesting the way the Chinese would react under those circumstances. It's different times, I guess. Yes, 3.
I was reading Confucius, and he said, when you have I don't know the exact quote, but he said something along the lines of when there's strict rules in place, that's not how you rule society. But when the people understand that what they're doing is wrong, from a moral standpoint, then they'll do the right thing. And so that kind of reminded me of that.
Yes, absolutely. There's one comment I would like to make, is that this boy lacks compassion. Don't you think? It's so glaring to me. He really lacks compassion. What he did is good for the temple, but bad for the bandits. The bandits will go hungry some more. These people are desperate, and they're going to rob someone else. It's so self-serving. I would slap his face. How can you be so selfish and lacking in compassion? These people are hungry. You cannot let them go empty-handed. It doesn't matter, they're wrong. It's not who we are. You understand? It's wrong. These people are suffering so much already. And they still have the strength to rob them. And they walk away empty-handed. They're going to be a lot worse than the next customer. Okay? Where's your compassion? We Americans are different, right? I mean, we would if I were there, I say, please I help you carry it to your cart. Okay? And when the police comes, I point them in the other direction. I assure you. Okay? And then what? And what about the consequences? Well, it says, if you rob the temple, you'll be poor. Okay? The next time you probably can't even rob, don't have the strength to rob even. Then I said, and if the bandits said, but I can't take you, but next time I don't want to be poor. I said, it's okay. Next time I'll be poor for you. I go back to my abbot and ask the abbot to forgive you and do repentance on your behalf. We have such dharmas. That would be a lot more impressive to the bandits. They would have become Buddhists instead of Christians. You know what I mean? We Buddhists have much better solutions. No, I don't want to hear any Catholic solution. Not tonight. Sorry, time is up. Thank you, everyone. Tomorrow, she has a comment, but time is up.